Hey, what's going on, guys? OJ back here with another video, and today we're going to be talking about UFC ranked fighters that I believe are absolutely cool in their next fight, right? These are guys that I will never pick to win a fight until they actually do so, and it doesn't look like any of these guys are going to win their next few fights. I'm going to be talking about one fighter from every weight class, starting from flyweight, ending with heavyweight. So without wasting any more time, let's jump right into the video. All right, so in the flyweight division, I got Bruno Silva. He's actually pretty good, but he's 35 years old at flyweight. That's tough because the UFC will not use you as a prospect when you're 35 years old at flyweight. You're gonna be fed to like every single upcoming flyweight prospect. Like you're fighting Hyun-Sung Park pretty soon. I don't know the exact date, but I don't really believe that Bruno Silva is gonna win that fight. All right, I know that Hyun-Sung Park lost to Tatsuro Taira, but Bruno Silva is not at the level of Tatsuro Taira, and this is also Hyun-Sung Park at a full training camp. All right, I believe there's gonna be a huge difference. And let's say Bruno Silva wins that fight, the UFC will continue to use him as a stepping stone. Right? They're gonna give him guys like Loner Kavanaugh, Andre Lima, Rafael Estevam. There's no easy path for Bruno Silva because he's 35 years old. He's at the bottom of the rankings of the flyweight division, and the UFC do not really want to invest in this guy right now. So Bruno Silva, I don't really have any confidence in picking this guy, which is kind of sad because he's very good. And it kind of also points to his style of fighting as well. Like this guy takes a lot of damage. His whole game plan, at least at flyweight, is like just taking shots and then somehow finding a comeback victory. I don't think that's gonna work against any level elite prospect, and I believe that the UFC is gonna feed Bruno Silva all of the elite prospects. So I don't see much of a future for Bruno Silva in the flyweight rankings. All right, now we move on to the bantamweight division. We got Tyler Phillips. Like, I am genuinely questioning how he's ranked in the first place. Right, his best win is against Song Yadong, and I'm gonna be real. I think that's kind of a fluke. Like, how did this guy beat Song Yadong and then went on to almost lose to Saulian Piver? Or like, how did he lose to Rob Font and then Vinicius Oliveira in the fashion that he did, while also having a win against Song Yadong? Like, that actually doesn't make any sense to me. And at this point, other than the Song Yadong win, his a recent best win is against Pedro Munoz. All right, that really doesn't mean anything when Ayman Zahabi can school Pedro Munoz on the feet. And I would genuinely pick five guys outside of the rankings right now to beat Tyler Phillips. I would pick Peyton Talbot. I would pick Elijah Smith. Uh, Sainer Magomedov. Who else would be there? I'm trying to think. I'm not sure, but I know there's a couple of guys I would pick to beat Kyler Phillips. And let's be real, Kyler Phillips isn't getting any easy matchups. They already kind of gave him a layup in Rob Font, but he even failed that test because turns out Kyler Phillips has no boxing defense. So I don't think the UFC is really interested in giving this guy any layups, and they're probably going to feed him to the next upcoming bantamweight prospect pretty soon. All right, now moving on, we got Giga Chikadze for the featherweight division. Now, I could have put a lot of names here. I could have put Patricio Pitbull. I could have put Dan Ige for losing to Patricio Pitbull. But the reason I chose Giga Chikadze in this situation, because he lost to David Onama. All right, I don't think David Onama's ranked caliber in the first place. I think David Onama kind of fluked his way into a ranking spot. I don't even know how he got the matchup with Giga Chikadze in the first place. Let's be real. David Onama, alright, sure, he's good outside the rankings, but he was on like at best a 2 or 3 fight win streak against absolute scrubs who were making short notice debuts, and he was going to scraps with those guys. He wasn't looking all that dominant, and the fact that Giga Chikadze lost to David Onama is really bad. And it's not like Giga Chikadze fights often to change the perception of him, right? Giga Chikadze is usually sidelined due to like weird and catastrophic injuries. And plus, he's like 35 years old now. Maybe he's a little bit younger, but I know he's not a spring chicken. So I don't see any reason that the UFC is gonna really invest in this guy's career. I know this guy had his run where he kind of body kick TKO'd Cub Swanson, where he got a bunch of body kick TKOs like on the come up. Ever since he lost the Calvin Cater, this guy has not been the same, and it's only a matter of time before he loses spot in the rankings against the next coming dangerous prospect. Maybe like who would I think? Hmm. Who would I give this guy? Maybe like Chepe Mariscal. Like I would pick Chepe Mariscal to whoop up Giga Chikadze any day of the week. So yeah, there's not much of a future for Giga Chikadze, and I expect him to be out of the rankings by the end of 2025. All right, now moving on, we got Michael Chandler. All right, at this point, he is literally useless unless he is cheating. Right, the only success he had against Charles Oliveira was when he eye poked Charles Oliveira in the fifth round. And even then, he fumbled the finish, and Charles Oliveira was raining down ground and pound shots. Right. Outside of that, Michael Chandler's literally a punching bag for anybody who actually knows how to maintain distance. Paddy Pimblett was piecing up Michael Chandler on the feet for 3 rounds straight. This is the same Paddy Pimblett who went to a decision with Tony Ferguson not that long ago. And it's not just because he's losing to competition that he shouldn't be. It's also the way he's losing these fights, all right? Genuinely looks like Michael Chandler is willing to throw fights that he is winning. Like, take the Paddy Pimblett fight, for example. Paddy Pimblett was about to get taken down by Michael Chandler, but rather Michael Chandler than trying to maintain top position or any sort of like control to gas out Paddy Pimblett, Michael Chandler decided to dunk Paddy Pimblett over his head just so Paddy Pimblett can get back up to his feet like 5 seconds later. Michael Chandler, simply put, is retarded, and he's now 38 years old. I know he's still athletic as hell, but his age is showing because he's worse off than ever when the fight goes past the first round. So Michael Chandler, at this point, he shouldn't be ranked, but I guess he is. So he's gonna be fed to the next upcoming prospect. And let me just say this: that upcoming prospect, I don't care who it is. All right, I would pick them to beat Michael Chandler at 38 years old any day of the week. All right, now moving on to the welterweight division. Guys, it pains me to say this, but Gilbert Burns, unbelievably cooked right now. All right, just doesn't fight like he used to. I remember when Gilbert Burns was a marauder of sorts, and he would be like a complete tough out for like all of the top guys in the welterweight division. But I do not see that Gilbert Burns anymore. I see Gilbert Burns where if you crack him once, he will probably go down. Right? We saw that in the Michael Morales fight, and I understand that Michael Morales is really good. I understand that Michael Morales has one punch knockout ability. But for Gilbert Burns to kind of just crumple up into the feeble position and just kind of just let Michael Morales win, it was very disappointing, and it just kind of shows that he's cooked. Also, he's 38 years old, so the washed allegations aren't an exaggeration, to be honest. The only fight I see Gilbert Burns realistically winning at this point is against Colby Covington. But Colby Covington, first off, is also unbelievably washed. And second off, I'm not entirely sure. I might even pick Colby Covington to beat this current version of Gilbert Burns. So I don't believe that Gilbert Burns is going to be in the rankings anytime soon. I expect him to be out of the rankings by 2026. And it's unfortunate because Gilbert Burns used to be one of the best fighters in the welterweight division. And I am still a massive fan of Gilbert Burns. I would love to see Gilbert Burns end off on a win, but I don't think that's going to happen unless he fights Colby Covington. And even that, I give it kind of a long shot, to be honest. So, Gilbert Burns, I don't see you that far into the rankings anytime soon. All right, now moving on, we got to the middleweight division. Marvin Vettori. How is this guy still ranked? Right? He is literally incapable of improving. What has he shown us over the last 2 years or so? He just showed us that he has an unbelievable chin. and that he'll literally let any fighter use him as a punching bag, and any capable like top 15 middleweight will piece up Marvin Vettori over the course of 3 or 5 rounds. And let me just say this guy made Roman Dolidze and Brendan Allen look like striking savants. They are not striking savants. Just watch Roman Dolidze in his last fight. Just watch Roman Dolidze in any fight outside of the fight with Anthony Smith and Marvin Vettori, and you will come to the same conclusion that I have, that Roman Dolidze is absolute dog shit. And Brendan Allen, however, all right, sure, he has some sort of talent on the feet, but he also is known for doing some absolute retarded shit. So they are not striking savants, yet Marvin Vettori was the guy to make them look like striking savants. So I don't believe that Marvin Vettori should be ranked in the first place. He is probably going to get chinned out cold by Bruno Ferreira. And by the end of that fight between Bruno Ferreira and Marvin Vettori, I don't believe that Marvin Vettori is going to be in the rankings anymore. All right, now moving on to the light heavyweight division, we got Alonzo Menifield. Genuinely questioning how this guy beat Omar Sy. All right, I understand that Alonzo Menifield can be fun to watch at times, but he does not offer anything technical. Alonzo Menifield wins his fights by swinging like a retard and just hoping that he clips his opponents. All right, and he goes through a lot of lackluster decisions with mediocre competition. All right, against like what, Julius Walker. Right, Julius Walker kind of proved that he's also dog shit because he couldn't finish off Rafael Sequeira in the first round. And if you can't finish off Rafael Sequeira in the first round, you're basically bottom feeder level in the light heavyweight division. Alonzo Menifield, simply put, I don't see much of a future for him. They're gonna continue to use Alonzo Menifield as a stepping stool. All right, they're gonna have someone like Carlos Oberg knock him out in 10 seconds again. They're gonna have someone like Omar Sy again try to beat Alonzo Menifield. And even if Alonzo Menifield wins those fights, it's gonna be terrible. All right, because it's probably gonna be a point decision fest. And whenever Alonzo Menifield does win a fun fight, it's gonna look absolutely terrible in terms of technique. So I don't see much of a future for Alonzo Menifield, and I would genuinely be surprised if he's still ranked by 2026. All right, now for the heavyweight division, we got Tai Tuivasa. I mean, there's no debate about this. He shouldn't be ranked in the first place. He's on a 5-fight losing streak, and he hasn't fought since August of 2024. And you might be thinking, maybe Tai Tuivasa's trying to improve his game overall. Maybe Tai Tuivasa is recovering from an injury. That is not what Tai Tuivasa is doing. Tai Tuivasa is trying to Dave Blunt Max since he has not fought in the octagon for at least a year now. All right, Tai Tuivasa is going from an obese blob heavyweight to rotund Australian version of Dave Blunt's. And again, he has not fought a fight in 2025, so why is he in the top 15 of the heavyweight division in the 2025 rankings? Tai Tuivasa, simply put, I will never pick him to win a fight. I would genuinely consider picking someone like Muhammad Usman to beat Tai Tuivasa at this stage of Tuivasa's career. And I wouldn't be sad if Tuivasa gets cut from the sport because he's just a filler ranking spot that is just filled up because Tuivasa is just squatting on his ranking and not really fighting anybody. And I would not miss Tai Tuivasa in the heavyweight rankings anytime soon. All right, that's gonna be it for today's video. If you guys want to see any videos like this, please make sure to like and subscribe so we can get this channel monetized. But other than that, though, leave a comment down below if you agree with my list. And other than that, though, I will probably see you guys later. Peace.